Welcome to SU Animate, created for MBA 518 Fall Quarter 2014 Operations Management. This is an OSA Project presentation by April Kudrowski, Jessica Lee, Mari Peronesa, John Paramatulak, and Jack Tarasowitz. Meet the founders of Woodinville Whiskey Company, Orlin, Brett, and Cameron. It all began as a concept to start a craft distillery, and in knowing they had no clue what they were doing, each of them convinced their families to cash out their 401k. A business agreement was established in 2009. Not only had cashing out their 401ks seemed to be a significant financial risk, it was also done at a time of economic downturn. Regardless, the company was finally established in 2010 with the idea of eventually creating a high-quality barrel-aged whiskey. Before the final product could be sold, the manufacturing process had to be developed and perfected, beginning with raw materials. The basic ingredients used in making whiskey include white oak, wheat, corn, rye, and barley, with the wheat, corn, and rye sourced from Quincy and barley out of Vancouver. Their commitment in using pure ingredients, pristine water, and unique aging conditions make Washington an ideal place for distilling. A lot of work goes into converting raw materials to the alcohol from distillation and barreled. This process includes 8 hours of cooking mash, 4 days of fermentation, up to 12 hours of installation and cleaning, and yields a maximum capacity of 130,000 gallons per year. Here's a brief video covering the manufacturing process, from the grain to the bottle.
The four grains we use here at Woodinville Whiskey are corn, rye, wheat, and malted barley. The majority of corn is corn. 51% of the grains used in bourbon whiskey by law have to be corn, and so that's all grown in Quincy. We purchase directly from a farmer over there. We currently go through about 60 to 80,000 pounds of grain per month. The grain comes to us whole, and we mill it into flour. We cook it, we ferment it, and distill it all here right on site. The cooking process is definitely the most work intensive. It's about a 10 to 12 hour day. Where we're trying to break down the starches and then convert them into sugars so we can add yeast and ferment them into alcohol. After we have cooked the grains, it ferments for about 3.5–4 days, and then we distill it. And basically the primary function of distillation is to remove the alcohol that's within that grain mash. Alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, so as we heat it up, the alcohol rises out and the water stays back, and then through the distillation plant, through the still here, we're able to refine that alcohol to whatever product that we're creating. So in the case of vodka, we distill it at a very high proof, 95% and above. And in the case of whiskeys, bourbon whiskey namely, it's below 160 proof and sometimes much lower than that. And then from there, we're either bottling it or barreling it. It goes into our blending tanks where we have a deionization system. We blend it with deionized water to take it to the proof or the alcohol percentage that we want, and it either goes into a bottle or a barrel. In the case of our unaged spirits, the white whiskey and the vodka, it's at 80 proof, and then we barrel anywhere between 110 and 125 proof. And then from there, like I said, either goes into a bottle or it gets stocked away, and the magic begins inside the barrel.
Once the alcohol is barreled, the aging process begins. The barrels are delivered to storage, taking 4 years to mature. As a new distillery and no product to sell during the initial aging process, revenue had to be generated from an alternative source, thus beginning the diversification of additional product lines, such as the Peabody Jones vodka, which can be distilled, bottled, and sold as fast as they can produce the alcohol. Other products included the barrel-aged maple syrup and honey. Now that we are well into 2014, the final product line is just about ready to be bottled and distributed. A byproduct of the manufacturing process include the barrels used to age the whiskey. Once the whiskey is drained, the barrels are resold or reused in other product lines. The waste produced from grains are transported and sold to local farmers, thus being able to recover a significant portion of the cost expenditures in acquiring the initial ingredients, providing not only an economic advantage but also levering inefficiencies in sustainability. Woodinville Whiskey's bottling process is a concept that enables consumer interaction, increased marketing exposure, and free labor. They took to the internet and advertised events on social networking sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. From there, they would seek volunteers to attend scheduled bottling sessions. These sessions are by invitation, and anyone may register for events when they're posted online. The final product is now ready to be distributed by Click Wholesale Distributing and is currently sold only within the state of Washington. Other product lines are currently distributed in California, Oregon, and Illinois. The team SWOT analysis assessed Woodinville Whiskey's operations. Their strengths included the all-volunteer bottling events, unique distillation process from homemade stills engineered and built in Germany, an experienced mentor that is a 14-year veteran and master distiller at Maker's Mark, David, superior ingredients that are grown in the Pacific Northwest and locally sourced within the state, and a lean process that eliminates waste and supports sustainable resources. Weaknesses in operations involve grains that are single sourced out of Quincy, legal constraints that restrict sales to Washington, as well as production caps at 150,000 gallons per year, and dependencies on the hand-built 1-ton copper still. Opportunities for the company include the expansion of sales and marketing. Their current method of advertising is limited to word of mouth, promoted by events and social networking sites, and may significantly impair brand recognition. Now that the aging process is part of manufacturing whiskey products have passed the 4-year waiting period, other product lines should be reevaluated and the business should focus on their strengths and profitability. Finally, their current production yield of 130,000 gallons a year should be increased to the legal limit of 150,000 gallons to maximize sales. The threat evaluation included anything that could take away from profitability. A significant portion of profits went to state and federal taxes. In 2011, 60% of all sales are attributed to the combination of taxes, and 10% went to distribution. Woodinville Whiskey has a multi-dimensional service profile approach that was assessed in 4 main categories. The product differentiation category evaluates Woodinville Whiskey's products from its competitors and ultimately what they need to accomplish to satisfy the order-winning criteria of their consumers. The manufacturing strategy examines process flexibility, production volumes, and process focus, among other variables within the manufacturing process. For the industry analysis category, Woodinville is an incredibly competitive market, and for whiskey production, the regulation, taxation, and control involved in such an endeavor still fosters one of the fiercest alcoholic beverage segments. Finally, we take a closer look at the infrastructure of the organization to see how it aligns with the rest of operations. Internally, Woodinville has leveraged a diverse product line with human capital and technology to produce a powerful yet cost-effective engine for the company. Woodinville Whiskey pursues a premium brand that is specialized in recipe, quality, and production. In other words, they are not interested in competing with commercialized brands like Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, or any other mass produced product in the market. Woodinville Whiskey operates much like hybrid of a batch volume driven operation. In some respects, they look like they operate with the batch mindset from their focus on product conformance with recipes and the amount of human impact that can occur within a batch. The manufacturing process takes on characteristics of a high volume operation with large batch sizes, high levels of consistency within production, and the amount of work completed by the plant equipment. It's the ability to cross over between batch and volume driven models that allows Woodinville to leverage their flexibility to produce a quality product. The significant levels of competition and regulation creates a high barrier to entry and may also serve to be an advantage for others attempting to join the market segment. Our infrastructure assessment documented a light overhead burden in addition to acceptable levels of raw material and work in progress inventories. An area where they may face some challenges come in the form of holding costs with their finished goods inventory. Not much to be done in this regard because a product is required to age. However, it is something to consider from a corporate financial management perspective. Overall, Woodinville Whiskey has targeted a specific vision for their product, which is a focus on quality and uniqueness. They utilize their manufacturing process and infrastructure to support this vision and compete in a very aggressive environment. In this presentation, we covered operational management elements that involve business strategies to market entry and criteria related to quality, flexibility, and sustainability, as well as structural decisions relevant to production stock.